아래 나 아주 가서 당한 저기 디기두야 동아 세계 탑람다 다 초도 규바디 먼저 태와 챔비게다 전주 심리 남냠내 제디 이래서 당한 저 가서 다 당보 삼로 당나 그래서 당고를 남나 다 코위기 진야와 이다 둔로 타다미 간로 깨봐 있나요 동아리를 하신 강아티니 도와서 비게 동아디에 삼다 근데 동아디다 라나신 동아 심전 탐제 나는 동아 미되바래 대화 뒤고 할때 대화 되바 동아 미되바 직바 인 셈베기다 랑 대화 되바다 동아 미되바나 심전 탐제 대화 되바다 동아 미되바 직바 인선 되네 자다 심전 탐제 대화데 덴버쇼 셈베게 삼로도 스타 되네 디제야 다 심전 탐제 동아 타다다 자와쇼 셈베게 어도시네 삼다 나 되네 디제야 다 심전 탐제 다다가 아니 미루기 톱 되니게 최지야 고급 되니 여바들이야 다 sem전 탐지기 동아세야단 디기두비 등의 지기 다 sem전 탐지기 강하게 세세 sem전 탐지라 탈비게 람데 다 sem전 야 고병아송 나서 가서 코와딜에 타지야 상기 고발에 기기 셈비게 되니게 하삼되게 다 되니게 계세요 제라 다 sem전 탐지 상기 고발에 기에래 다당할 뉴버민도 제사 되니게다 상기 고발에 기투근 탑초도 교부 수레시나 상계레샤 디엔자당이 셈전 탐지기 동아세단 디기주비에 돈달이야 이 상계 고판 마톱데 탑민도 삼제 디엔장에 셈전 탐지기 돈 상계 고판 토바쇼 셈비 토바지기 세베 디네 삼다에 디당은저 잠니제 자주 셈게 와서 자고래 어도시 가산 직 담보되는 쉬루와
Good morning. So yesterday, when we were looking at the 7th and 8th verses, we looked further into the method by which to transform one's mind so as to eradicate all problems, suffering, and difficulties that we experience and attain a state of lasting happiness. So what we looked at is that one needs to meditate deeply on the sufferings of samsara, the sufferings that beings in the lower realms are experiencing right now, and that as we have not gained freedom from cyclic existence, potentially await us. We also, though, need to look at the sufferings in the higher realms to recognize there is no rebirth or state within even the higher realms that equates to lasting happiness. In this way, give rise to a disenchantment towards cyclic existence and a determination to gain freedom from suffering. And then lift our gaze from our own situation and recognize all other sentient beings are in the same predicament as ourselves, not wanting to fall to the lower realms, but not experiencing lasting happiness in the higher realms either. And they all, just like me, want to abide in lasting happiness and never have to experience problems again. We are all at a fundamental level the same. Then one develops this mind further. May all beings be happy. So all beings, ourselves and all others, may all beings abide in a state of lasting happiness. May all beings accumulate the causes that will lead to this. So this is the cultivation of the mind of love. And this is followed with the mind of compassion. May all beings gain their freedom from suffering so they never have to suffer in any way again. Developing love and compassion ever further to the point where this aspiration becomes deep and strong within, and further still to the point where merely having this aspiration feels insufficient. And one makes the determination, I will fulfill this aspiration. I take it as my responsibility to ensure that beings attain a state of lasting happiness and gain their freedom from suffering. And as I have this precious human rebirth, this life with such potential, I will make the very most of this rebirth. And this then is the wholehearted resolve where one takes responsibility for the welfare of others. And then this is immediately followed by the recognition, but whilst I have this determination and I'm going to strive and do my best right now is not enough. I am still quite limited. I have not gained my own freedom, so I cannot guide others yet on a basis of experience. I have to become a Buddha, the most skilled of guides. And I have to become a Buddha so that I can lead others to attain their own enlightenment. In this way, one generates bodhicitta.
Denegeda, Simja Tamjudun, San Yokovan Tobracho, Sempigeta, Semke. That Denegi, Semke about Zambia, and that Yan San Yokovan top two graves and two mares. Chazada Semke and the Karjores and Pene, Semke about Zambia, Pene, Chanju Simpi, Chudin number Sumla Magom Bachina, and San Yokovan top two graves, two mares. Denenza, that Semke, Dene Chanju Simpi, Juba. Chanju Simpi, Tomba Songche, Dene Chanju Simpi, Juba Parod Chimutula, Labkores. Denegi Labaina, Dene, and Gatian Laya de Dene Bezu, Zunduche, Bezuche, and Mutusine, Yamlenche or Yamlenche Baina, Dene San Yokoba, top two grace, Dene Denega San Yamlen, Yabochi, Toba, Delea, Lamaitum San Yenam Yen, Gini Labroche said, on to Shude, Kazotan was some diet did it. Chisada sem Jebats in Yimjova, the Denega that Semja San Yokoba Toba Show, Sebe some dance with Jelia. That Chanju Simbi Juba Parochimba Labgi Sepiki, that Yamlin Chihi Sibi Kalen, Damja the Che, Kalen Che. Dine Kalen Che with Jell, Lama Kalen, the Dine Samtani Dine. So you get the Labia the Garrison, Jimbal Labia, Chudim Laya, Seval Laya, and sometimes a Shera Labia Res. So that Dine Zada, Lunga Yusum Yokone, and the Chigi, Lokash Kari Jalia, and the Chigi. No launch Jimbatanji, Shengi, Ganse, Digitubile, Jimbatangi, Sempe Samlataya. Deneng Lunga Yusum Yogane Shala, Nubisha was all in the Jigme, Sempe Samtaya, and Shengi Susula Nova Chevan, Delia, and then Jig, Semja Tamju, San Yogo to be choose some down Gulanaza, Dene Zangi Delia, Shenlia, and the Pa Nubilan, Zaugin Jigme, Sempe. Corona, the New Bill and South Jimmy, Sempe Samtaya. Dene to get Denegi, gave Yam Shella, Chick Dene Jamnijo, Gomia, La Sopata, Jajusem Gomia, Jimmy Yam, Subian Yamlen, Jed, Yawaresha, Dini, Din Mutijan, Yumasho, Jigi, Sempe Samtaya, then Zundu Yam Chang Ro, all those in some tango, the do such tango, yes, and the Casa, and the Digo, she started.
When we came to the 8th verse, we looked at that even if one develops such a resolve, develops this mind of enlightenment, even though one now is a new bodhisattva, that having that mind alone is insufficient for one to become a Buddha. One has to accumulate the causes, and the causes are accumulated through engaging in the practices of a bodhisattva, or training one's mind in the practices of a bodhisattva. And these are presented as the 6 perfections. So these are the trainings we've heard about before, but being conjoined now with bodhicitta, they are called perfections, namely those of generosity, ethics, patience, joyous perseverance, concentration, and wisdom. And with this powerful mind of bodhicitta, this determined attitude to become a Buddha for the sake of others, not wanting to waste even a moment or to delay one's spiritual development by even a moment, one has a powerful impetus to strive in cultivating this very way of thinking, developing these 6 trainings within one's mind. And one requests one's teacher and the Buddhas and one's yidam for blessings or for inspiration in one's endeavors. So we have spoken over the course of the week, briefly over time together, briefly over some of these practices. So to recap some of them, the mind of generosity is an attitude of wanting to give of oneself. And this can be most clearly expressed through giving material assistance to help ease the suffering of others, or to bring benefit into their lives, or to help others in a time of crisis when their life is in danger, or to help them through the guidance, the teachings of the Dharma. So in other words, the mind of generosity is this wish to give of oneself. This needs to be conjoined with that of ethical restraint, because generosity is the wish to benefit. Ethical restraint is the determination, I will not harm. These two need to work together. So ethical restraint is that I am determined to ensure that my mind is restrained within the confines of what is ethical. In other words, not influenced by the afflictions. And therefore, both my speech and my physical behavior will be ethical too. And then coming together with these trainings of generosity and ethics, the determination to benefit and the determination not to harm, one also has the attitude of patience, which is, I want to lead all beings to enlightenment. Therefore, any response to their provocation, their unskillful behavior, their harm that they inflict upon me, any response that is contrary to my determined attitude to lead them to enlightenment, this is completely inappropriate. This helps then the training of patience, a mind that stays undisturbed in the face of adversity. And fourthly, enthusiastic perseverance, where one intentionally takes delight in these virtuous endeavors, seeing one's spiritual development, recognizing the great importance of this, develops enthusiasm about one's training, and thereby commits to persevering, in other words, training in one's mind in an ongoing manner. So these are the first four of the six perfections.
Jimbataya게 zero Jimili, Shanda, Semjen, Jebin, Sujabin, zero, Jigbainaya, Tangazuki, Bene, Shaya, Jike, Gewachimada, then some Gayamata, or the Dingy Kaladi, called Jebin, Bene, the called Yaboria Samje, Bene Kala, Jiroji, Lama Tsongkhapa, some Yushavan, and Gewakaya Sama, may Yushava Jiba, Gewakaya Sagomare. Da yuma shaba da di kala di Buddhist ke sadhu gore samje che shabena gewa che sagore gewa sagore ina gewa che mongon dio go thoye gyuda kaya sago ma gewa di gewa chung yun shire da kunlo de le ya da gewa che mo nganson le the ngon dio go mo thogu du di jang e de kon ya ngon dio go mo thoye ge dan da le yang e kon ya ji ge yesbe ji ge se kala che bena kunlo ngon dio go mo thoye den de che benza di kala che bi jimbadida gewa che mo ngon dio go mo gyusharu ngon dio go mo thoye le pingor an de ne ge gewa de jinye le de gewa de chewa charda ngon dio go mo thoye gyul pa pingor da de ne kunlo de ya de le cher da che ko wa 당원도 간송도 맞에 다 코에 동아 타달래 탈체 탈바스 토고도 세서 탈바 토발라 나 개와 싸고면서 인생이 탈바 토여야 된다리아 두시네 개와 칼라지 코스티게 선배 섬다시 두제베 있나 다 탈바 토여 귤 바로 거래제 다디 대신예에 당원도 코본 귤 차와 맞에 탈바 토비 귤 차고 니버 숙처시 말이야 단 딜레 군원들에 당한 듯이 셰바나디 다 semje 탐제 대화의 대한국도 동아 자고도 지자다 semje 탐제 동아 대화 semje 팬디 주비 대장의 semje 탐제 산조고마 토벌쇼 sembe 디 토비에 된다래야 당이 산이 연주심이 줘봐 랍친 라바 냠는 제제 되는 게 진비 냠는 지기 sembe 당이 칼디 콘절의 지기 제사디 콘절 동아세야다 디기 주야지 영어쇼 sembe 삼다제 도시 군로 전시심이 군내나 제외나 다 되는게 짐버제야디 답당 셈바디다 배지 산조고 보토비 규차고 때 개와디 배 이제 셈전 탐지에 돈다 삼다시 봐자 셈전 탐지에 상마이 이버도 개회자와디 배주다라기 요래서 월지사 기라기래 제가 되는 개와 배 야신 버 제가 제기 제세 유직바래 제게 제직바래디 군로 삼도 당상에 돈에 군로 개체중 거든데 개와 체셔서 야차고 그래서 디나제다 안도 진발에 디레 마도 제네기 디나주 추림다 쇠바다 쫀저 가르스 냠는 제반에 개회자와 가르스 주베이나다 군롱의 체중을 도안에 아니 개와 치셨어요. 그래서 제대 디네에서 당한도 군롱의 심지어 탐지를 패야 되는 생산적으로 봐 토벌쇼 선배 군내랑 심지어 탐지 산요고 봐 토비치를 인삼제 진바다야 추림소야 쇠바곰야 전제섬야 소수기 최바푸야라서 개와 가리 주베이나 삼다베네 고라고야 차체와 된셰베네 제사 산요고 봐 토비 규체가 되는 개와 빼 야침 못하고 그래지 제사 당한도 가산다들이 가산 쉬야지 디고 쉬어버리지.
The key point to really take to heart is that our virtuous activities, whilst they lead to the accumulation of merit, how much merit is accumulated depends entirely on depends largely on the motivation. This is important to really take to heart so that one develops the habituation to be mindful that before engaging in any virtuous activity, that one does so under a powerful virtuous motivation, so that that same activity can lead to a far greater meritorious example. So I'll give a simple illustration, and that is, you take your leftovers and you give it to insects. So in these various permutations of this act, what doesn't change is what you're giving. It's just your leftover meal. And what also does not change is to whom you're giving it to, perhaps to the ants or other insects. So there's no difference in terms of what is being offered or to whom it is being offered. What will differ is the motivation. And because of the growing strength of the various motivations, the amount of merit, that same act, which takes the same amount of time and effort, the amount of merit that is accumulated is vastly different. So if, for example, you eat your meal, got some leftovers, and you just put them in the garbage, then maybe you have some insects there or later at the dump, and they will eat your leftovers. There's no merit accumulated. There was no act of generosity there at all. One just disposed of one's leftovers, and it just so happened that some beings were able to take sustenance from that. But then, if one had the actual intention, well, let me throw these leftovers outside so that insects can enjoy and take sustenance, there you have to gain some merit. But that merit is very little, because the only motivation you had was to help these beings sustain their life. Nothing wrong with that. It's a good act to do, and one should be encouraged to do so. But if one has a slightly stronger motivation, through this merit of helping these insects sustain their life, through this merit, may I attain an excellent rebirth. May I not fall into the lower realms like them. May I continue to have precious human rebirth after precious human rebirth. Same act, same beings being benefited, but a far more powerful motivation, therefore more merit. Likewise, making the same act, but through this merit, may may these be the part of the causes required, so I can come to recognize the sufferings of samsara in its entirety, give rise to a determination to gain liberation from cyclic existence, and attain my liberation, gain freedom from samsara. So now, same act, far more powerful motivation. Again, offering leftovers to insects outside your home, and do so, though, with the motivation of bodhicitta. These beings have been my kind mothers. By offering to them, may I ease their suffering right now, and through this connection that I create with these beings, may I help them in every subsequent life. And through this merit, may I gain Buddhahood so that I can teach these beings the Dharma. And I, in fact, dedicate this merit I'm accumulating so that these beings who partake of my offering, that they can become humans in their future lives, and that I can lead them to attain their own enlightenment. So here, you're seeing various motivations. The first, you're just making a disposal. Really, no merit was gained there. But the others, merit was gained. And the vast, and as one's motivation progressed, far more merit was accumulated. So again, take this to heart and keep it in mind at all times. Be mindful of this, because this is the case not just with generosity, but it's the case with all endeavors. If one's motivation for ethics, one's motivation for patience, one's motivation when one does any meditation or does circumambulation or prostrations or recite mantra, the strength of the motivation determines how meritorious that same act is.
Diniki Jimbe Yamlin Chelia, Jinji Miji, Benjo Chimbota, Mijandale, Gachimbo, Hoya, Denegi, Jumbo in that Tumda Yawada, men that to go him. Then Benan to get that Ganji, Semjan Tamji, the San Yukon Topper Show, Sebe, some Daji Kunotone, Sosu Kalatuya, Jatuya, the Chutuya Cabline, the Kuno delia, Tambon and the color Sivine, Chizan Kuno Tambo, and Semjan Tamji, the San Yukon Topper Show, Sembe, some time, the Inzada, Yangi. 칼라디야 상유고마 토베치도다 소수기 쇠남 싸워엔자 다 야군절이야 초부유 선비게 초주 상계 장주 선바 탐절의 부유 선비게 되네 매번 제반에 야 초부유기 다니 개화사고래 지sem제 탐지거든 상유고마 토벌쇼 선비 군이 라제디 상 토베치도 이 선비 소수기 사야도야 칼라를 마자니엘이야 상계다 진선바 탐절 부유 선비게 매바제 네 주로 동비나다 자로 동비나 마동예리야 부부에서 매매바제 네 초바 부유게 와서는 빠도매 봤어요 거래 되네 다 되네 부서에 제려야 다 뇌수나랴 무슨 빠도매 봐요 제가 계속 칼라 사제 초와 끼워 지장이 칼라 맞는 혼자 시로 인제 다 혼자래 펜버쇼 선비게 다 혼자래 진배인 삼제 사회나 다디양 제 수보나랴 무슨 빠도 망고 쉬우셔래 대 차상의 인세비게 대제베나 되네 진바차로 무슨 부비 진바차용을 제산 두섬다면 제자다 최고 부위에게 쇠남 진바 부위에게 진바다에 쇠는지 전주심기 군에 라제 산조고보 투비치 인선비 삼다지 부위 제바자 디에네 진비 냠는데 아주 이디나 제여되 버차고 다지 저선 믹스에 담고 소소 칼라사야다 자동에다 추당위 동에 쉬어라 샤다 쉬어라야 개와 최고 부위에게 상계다 제주세 마탐절로 추어부위 아니 제 순한 보도미 봤어야 아니 샘젤레 진바다위 진비 냠는 차야다 두스네 개와 보도미 봤어야지 디네게 용고를 지자다 디네 샘젤 상주고모 토비치도 토벌쇼 샘비 군내라요 군롱 그런 개발에 샘젤 개와 장슈샘 군내라와 자거로 디네 디 된다랑에 디 최바데 샘젤 상주고모 토비치도 군줄을 푸비 샘비게 삼로디 개발에 나 디네 랑길 수고를 무슨 빠도매 버려는 칼라디 콘솔에 제제 콘솔 동아다 세워쇼 선비게 저기 세배 삼다리 그런 개발에 진바를 받아 지상 동에 선바 작업 지상 공원 전유 세면 군내라 안에 저게 다 군대네 동에 선바 두신의 사대 되네게 진변냠는 진바 작용을 지상 되네게 개와 빠도매 봐야 돼 용거로 와
From the illustration just given of offering leftover food, it should be clear that one does not need to be wealthy to practice generosity. And if one never has leftovers, it doesn't mean that one can't practice generosity either. Because prior to eating and drinking, then take a moment. Offer the food you're about to enjoy, the tea that you're about to drink. Offer this to all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. Take just a couple of moments and quietly to yourself, you offer to all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. And you do so with one of the motivations mentioned before, ideally with the motivation of bodhicitta. I offer this to all the great practitioners, the Bodhisattvas, as well as to all the perfected beings, the Buddhas. Through the merit of offering to them and this expression of my appreciation for the benefit they bring to me and so many others, through this merit I thereby accumulate. May my spiritual ambitions, my attainment of the minds of bodhicitta and so forth, my attainment of enlightenment, come about quickly. Moreover, through this merit, may all beings come to have easy access to clean water like I have, and to nutritious food like I have. May all beings come to abide in happiness. Moreover, through this merit, may I quickly develop spiritually and be able to teach beings the Dharma and guide them to attain their enlightenment. So one just recites something like this, but with meaning from one's heart. In this way, one accumulates excellent merit. And one can also be aware that living in our body are innumerable bacteria. And we know that by consuming this meal, they have a feast inside. So one can also dedicate that through the connection I am making with these beings abiding in my body. Through this connection, I dedicate this merit I'm creating to these beings in my body so they may gain human rebirths in their lives to come. And through this dedication of merit, may I teach them a Dharma, guide them to attain their own liberation. So in this way, because we drink throughout the day and we eat several times, by taking a moment like this and offering with sincerity, one quickly accumulates merit. And not only that, one develops a habituation, or rather one strengthens one's awareness that the very purpose of this life is to use what remains of this life skillfully to develop spiritually and to be of ever more benefit to others.
소소랑기 집이 개발할 수 있라지 디멘베다 소소념도 다 되네 개화제 미션다 빠도면 봐지 건도 배 야보래다 선배게 섬담 야보래 되네기 안데 건조이나 되네기 왜냐면 무되지 야보 영어쇼 선배게 섬담에는 제니 집이 개화제 발치 수 있라지 봐서 개화 빠도면 봐서 그래지 지상은 저 개화 사이게 탑람되게 삼노 도시네 다에게 몽고에 돼 버리다.
And then finally, one can also rejoice in the merit accumulated. Because when one makes offerings such as I've described, your mind is already in a joyous state. It's wonderful to make such offerings, to develop a genuine wish, may all beings attain happiness. Then rejoice in what you are doing, how you are living your life. So here, you're rejoicing in the merit that you accumulated. Also be aware, others are accumulating merit. So those that you know from our time here together, as well as so many other beings in the world, are doing things to help others. This is something that many beings do naturally. Rejoice in the merit that others are accumulating, whether it's vast or whether it's minor. Rejoice in the good that beings are doing for each other.
Semjin shini tubda denege domangi mibeke da lao domangi tubi shirab da shila sungzhe diugor ma shuere.
That then concludes a review of what we looked at yesterday. Now to come to today's teaching, where we're going to look at calm abiding or single points of concentration and its further development into meditative insight or special insight. So we'll look at that today.
로베 유라 영화 시시시 양다 된다 추진 줘봐이 신의劳动 손도 제외람 유도 유래 개발 진기로스.
The ninth verse. By quieting distraction to wrong objects and correctly analyzing the meaning of reality, please inspire me so that the path of the union of calm abiding and meditative insight arises quickly within my mind stream.
그래서 가서 전주 심기 심제 탐지 상요고방 토벌쇼 심배 전주 심기 대유군의 라지 진바다 수준 쇠바 전주 삼대디게 가서 전주디게 냠는 최고의 손으로와 지사 되네 인자다 되네 냠는 제반에 띵해진 신이 마토바이나 되네게 개와디게 배스 뉴버 충중을해서 왔다 신이 주고 그랬어. 그래서는 신이 주는 셈제지비 유 자와 냠는 가르치베 될 제주도 내봐주고 그랬어. 제주 냠는 제발라 될 제주 내 마토바제 양제 가브리엘 선의 셈 샹달라 파 양지 또 쇼와네 개자디 개와디 배스 뉴버 충중마도 요 말에 되네 인자 셈제주도 내봐주고 그랬어. 셈제는 내 제주 내베데 신이도 주고 그래서 왔다.
So whilst I've explained to you how through developing a motivation, the same virtuous act can lead to far more powerful results, and therefore please do take this advice to heart. Further point to make is that without the mind we have at the moment, which is so distracted, I mean, I don't need to tell you this, you know when you meditate, your mind is all over the show. The result of this distracted mind is that the merit we acquire, that we accumulate, is weak. If we are able to develop the powerful mind or single point of concentration or calm abiding, then with this powerful concentrated mind, that same activity leads to an incredible amount of merit because the mind is so focused. It is not distracted. And this is the case with all the virtuous minds we've discussed thus far. Generosity, ethical restraint, patience, and enthusiastic perseverance.
제상당은 저기 변에 추루시 망용직바이네 추디마 강마 땅이도 파 잠제 땅변에 슉셔라요 말에스 제나다 추디바 수 카직이야 안직 바입나지 지분을 마직 땅샤변에 추디 슉쳐요 거레스 제나다 아 저기 셈 개월주디깔에 셈 남미에다 파 샹다 예 천에 예위 되네 제변에 개와디 됐는 거 총하셔고 제나다 yu de le zhe ju de ne bi mi ba zhe ju de ne bi sem chan la ma yang wa che yu de le zhe ju de ne che ne bi ge ding jin zhu ding ji di tuo ne ge wa kan zhu bi ne ge wa de da ni ba che li go re se di yin za da samten shi ne zhu gu hu re se di sung go ro.
Here the analogy that's used is if one pictures a wide meandering river, that large bulk of water, whilst moving, is moving without much strength. Whereas later, when that river gets channeled, perhaps in a narrow ravine, that same quantity of water now travels with tremendous strength and force. That's what one does when one develops single-pointed concentration. This distracted mind now comes together and is focused and remains focused. Therefore, one's meritorious activities have so much strength because of the power of the focused, concentrated mind behind it. Therefore, the result of the same meditation, for example, is so much more powerful than otherwise.
Lobe yule yangwa xixi jingsi, jizan gahale ingo res ne semdi chayu chadang ge yule pa ingo res yang du go res, jizan di yangwa de pa xi go res, jizan di ro ben na ji samdang ji gewa de sam ji sam de lamsa so sui ge lega zhen ya, so sui ge mo xing ba de ge zhen ya, an ji kala ro zhen zhen mo zhen ya, din de lamsa zhen ya ji de chawa ge Gabriel ya, an so sui le ne wa che mi di zhen ji de kong la ya de ngo ro, jizan de chadang yule yang du go, jizan di pai sem yang de pai xi wo me ba so ga hu le xi xie sen di pai xi wa ji me ba so ga hu le se wo.
The first line, by quieting distraction to wrong objects. So every mind has an object. So what an object means is just what your mind is thinking about, what your mind is engaged with. And wrong in this context means it's afflicted. So usually when you sit and meditate, your mind is quickly drawn away from the virtuous object, virtuous mind you're trying to cultivate, and drawn to either an object of attachment, so you're drawn towards something that you like, or you think about something that you deeply dislike, an object of anger. So these are the most common distractions. When it refers wrong objects, refers to where the afflictions pull one away from the virtuous object one is trying to cultivate. So for example, when you're trying to sit and meditate, very quickly your mind is drawn to pleasurable things. Maybe thinking about your friends, maybe thinking about later having a good time with them, or maybe thinking about a lovely meal. Or if one is drawn towards something hurtful that someone has said to you, or something that someone has done to you, or what is being done in the world. And then your mind is so quickly drawn away like that. So these are distraction. The mind is being distracted to wrong objects. This needs to be quietened, or the mind needs to be either made, it's the same word, quiet or peaceful. So instead of being distracted, the mind needs to be quietened down, made peaceful.
Da jidang den du xin de xin zhu le sem lo bei yu le yang wa de fa xi xie xin de zhe jun de bi xin de zhu bu gu de s an lao ba de dang de li ya an something pa xin gi xie bi ga bian za da ga so de da de ni gi xin zhu bi xin de ya da dong ba ni duo ba zam yi an de ga so de niao mo ba ba tu ma de s ji za dong ba ni le mi bi ge xin de zhu bu gu de s ji za dong ba ni le zhe ju de ni bi zhe ju de ni bi xin de zhu bu gu de s ji za de ni za di se go de Yanda Dunla Sujun Joba Yi, Shine, Sida Jizada, Yanda Dundel Zidu, Nebige, the Shine Tukures, Jizza some de Shine, Yanda, just the Kazan Yanda said, Kazin Dameba, Dongbani said, Jizna, Odushin, Che Ganglaya, Ganglay, Dumba, Rangun when you drop out in Mebat, Donsan de la Dongbani, Della, that's some Zidu, Nebiting is in Tukures, Yanda Dunla.
the second line, and correctly analyzing the meaning of reality. So the first line is specifically about the need to quiet distraction. This references the need to develop concentration. So we've discussed of the 6 practices, concentration is the 5th, following that of enthusiastic perseverance. And one needs concentration for all the practices so that one accumulates far more merit and deepens the habituation to those practices to one's mind. But in particular, in terms of developing the wisdom realizing selflessness, one needs the powerful concentrated mind of calm abiding. And this is then the meaning of the second line, correctly analyzing the meaning of reality, where one develops the wisdom realizing reality, realizing how the self and all phenomena actually exist.
차상 빵투고 말에 바샤다지 빵투고 말에 네 빵발라 안에 가르고 버렸으네 라동세도 고고 버려 진짜 라동 두고 버렸어 라동세도 제시바디 내래 딜래 하바 다 딜래 캬바 파바 두고 버렸어지 진짜 디네 인자다 캬바도 파바 가르레스나 유디 랑게 셈디 유동방에 또체 딜래 제시도 내시베 안에 양지기야 제바 셰럽기 띵이진디게 제시도 내시바 디네 제시 내시메 딩안에 셰르게 제바시고 유디 제바시고 그래서 제자다 제주 내바디 바 내투고에나 제바 양직 제바제 삼다도 양지 제주니베 미네바 차르고 그래 양한도신 제자 뒤지 안에 양도 당보 제주 내바디 남해데 바 제주 내바디 장디 마장자자 가슴질라 제주도 내투바디 차송바나 디네 셰르게 양 유동방이라 제바지 삼다도 양 미네바 차르고 온도 제주 내병 안에다 부 제바제도 장고를 소소 제바 이수 제 제네 바도 장장여도 간섬질이야 아니 신내디 제바 내신 제주 내신 병 안에 다 셰럽디게 제바 채나양 신내디 다가라 내투바 신내디 제주 내투바 셰럽디게 제바 제투베게 데네 강아 매바게 안 데디게 아지게 신장의 대화세 중고로 데네 지레요도 데네 실라 송제세 도고 그래지 동반이라 미비 신내다 동반이라 미비 라동세디 다 니가 송제 니가 예딩이지 제주 내비의 예딩이지가 데라 제바제된 셰르기 제바제 니가 제투가 누바 차상 상화의 용고 실라 송제세 용고래지 신내 라동 송도 제비 람 데라 송 실라 송제기 람시 고래지
When one is engaging in meditation on any topic, one comes to the point where one gains an understanding of that topic. Feeling arises in relation to that topic. Then one abides on that, rests with that realization in the meditation. But lacking calm abiding, we very quickly are distracted from that. In a few moments, it's gone. But when one develops calm abiding or single-pointed concentration, then when this understanding or this insight into the topic arises, one then can abide with that realization for as long as one wants. And this way one deepens one's habituation to that topic. So this is the great power that comes with single-pointed concentration. However, all that single-pointed concentration or calm abiding can do is hold the object unmovingly for as long as you want, but unmovingly. As soon as one moves one's mind, tries to investigate perhaps a little deeper, one's concentration is lost. So therefore, calm abiding alone is insufficient. One needs to develop it further. So this is the third line. One needs to develop a meditative insight. So this term, meditative insight, it is most commonly translated as special insight. But what it would be, if one was literal, is not special, but additional or extra insight or additional insight. What this means is one is doing something additional or extra to calm abiding, because it is a realization or development of the mind beyond calm abiding. One attains calm abiding, and then later, or in dependence on that, one develops meditative insight or this additional insight. So what this mind can do is that it is when one develops the union of calm abiding and meditative insight, calm abiding can continue to hold whatever it is you are meditating on undistractedly, but because now the additional extra insight has been developed, what I call meditative insight, one can analyze further. One can analyze deeper without distraction. This is the great benefit of having the union of calm abiding and meditative insight. So not only calm abiding, but where one is able to, where one develops meditative insight and then can meditate with both of these, hence the union. Without distraction, calm abiding, but being able to investigate deeper, having deeper insight, meditative insight. In this way, one can use one's wisdom or intelligence to investigate more deeply. Again, whatever the meditative topic is, in this context, we talk about investigating reality deeper, more deeply. So whatever one is meditating on, one can investigate deeply without distraction when one has the union of calm abiding and meditative insight.
당보 지마 가즈마리 에마데 장기 정해진 간삼 찍을야 되네 강바 찍주지야 랑되데 구요균에 마다지 랑되네 랑되 투부체 야 락베 레갈레나 마마리 줘야 친구로와 지사 당보 강바 찍주제데야 랑되데레 갈레 하보이 야네 야네 장여도 간삼 찍을야 강바 찍주제 랑데 투고가제 투제 대가서 대신에 주바데 찍바라 차고래 다 되네 아직 강바 찍수의 락베 레가로 제여도 람사 마리 되마도와 차. 다디劳动 주고래.劳动 주바지. 되는 되마도. 또 전에 아직 주 락베 레 장기 안 강삼 찍리야 강바 찍수신 락베 레가다 마라 제투에 차고래. 그 락베 레가레 투고래. 안 파수제다 찌잘라데 파유 수유제 락베 차상 제투고래. 강바 찍수데 딱 되투고래. 그게 마다지 마리바 되투고. 제산 되네기 강바 직수 뒤투바다 라베 레가 레투바 징영이 장도를 태어도 니가 제투바 나신 제사 제유들의 제지도 내비게 다 내내 유대 제바 지기지도 안 제바 제비 갑라 제주 네투바디 차요도 딩에진 실라송데스 토고 제사디 디 베로지 되네래 디 데모징아 저 데모나라데 망고 타야 통해도 어디
To make this clear, if you think of watching a dance or watching sports, in either illustration, for the dancer or athlete to perform at the level required, they need to be well coordinated. They need to coordinate their leg movements and their arm movements. If the athlete's only using their arms or only using their legs, not going to be very effective at their sport. Or if it's a dancer, only using one or the other, it's not going to be effective. So first, perhaps they train their legs, and when the legs know the movements well, then they learn the movements with the arms, and then once that's they've got that good, then they are able to bring the two together. So if we think of what one trains in first, so that would be maybe the leg movements, that then is likened to attaining calm abiding. This needs to be required first. It's indispensable that calm abiding has to be achieved first. Thereafter, one learns the second set of movements, that of the arms, and this then can be likened to meditative insight. But it's not just enough that you know the arm movements and the leg movements. You need to be able to do them together. You need that coordinated movement. And that coordinated movement is likened to the union. So the legs are likened to calm abiding, the movement of the arms to meditative insight, and them moving in a coordinated manner is likened to their union, the union of calm abiding and meditative insight.
yu 동반이 돼도 동반이라 제지도 내시면 안에 시작에 제바체 뒤에 되는 시 라통의 통화도 제산다 라통에서 라바 통화서 되지 제주도 내가 될래야 네 라바 안에 지자와 제투의 라바 통화 제산 되네자 되네게 라통 되네 통화도 뉴바 되지 통화도 되네게 동반이 또 시작되라 Shila Sondre Sigores. That di lamdi, di comia, denegi lamdida, Nyomoba Tamjigi, Nyebongoni, the Didera. She said, Di Goniane Ado Combi, Diada, Dangbo de la Nubachon, Dino Gomnia, Coron Gomgu, Nuba Church down, Nuba Church to Dino, Nyomoba di Rimi Pa Pangene, then a San Yokoba to Tuyadi, di Togo Edge that, San Yokoba Toyagi, you Zorosh, Diniki Dires, or that Diniki Togores. Shila Sundu Nude. The nigger lamdida, my son Yokoba, Tobo towards it, the nigger lamdi Nudukia, Megula, the nigger lamdi Nudik, Yokoki Odus, Chida, the nigger Kiawa, Yokokia, and Yamlen Cheche, Yokoki to Elia, Lamaidam, Sanje Namjeda, and Jingy Labroche said, Nudugula Kiwa, Jingy of said to Sumore.
This union, this mind that is the union of calm abiding and meditative insight, whilst can and should be applied to all meditation topics. Here we see it is specifically referenced to reality. So in other words, in relation to the wisdom realizing emptiness or selflessness. And it's specifically, and again, whilst a meditator or a yogin will utilize this union of calm abiding meditative insight in every meditation, whatever the topic, it specifically references here reality, because when one is meditating on selflessness or emptiness, and one comes to realize emptiness, one can hold it with calm abiding, strengthen one's familiarity with this realization, and then meditate more deeply with this meditative insight, or the literally additional or extra insight. One can now, without any distraction, meditate deeper, deeper, deeper. And why is it then that specifically in relation to reality is the union of calm abiding meditative insight mentioned? Because it is this mind that is the actual antidote to the afflictions. It is this mind that, when developed sufficiently, leads to liberation from cyclic existence, complete freedom. So when the yogin eventually attains the union of calm abiding and meditative insight in relation to this very subtle object of emptiness, this mind then, they need to develop its strength. And this then becomes the priority of their focus in meditation, because it is this mind that, when it's strong enough, will lead to the root cause, the ignorance, being severed by this now powerful mind of wisdom. Hence, we see, so the end of the Tibetan, for us it's in the third line, please inspire me, so that this mind arises quickly within my mind stream. Here then one, as before, is making requests to one's Lama and the Buddha and one's Yidam, seeing them as indivisible, requesting that we quickly achieve this, requesting the inspiration that we quickly develop this within our mind stream.
Danda Nibo Dilla, Danda Carasors, Nanga Simja Tamji, Dundo, San Yokoba Tobershow, Sibi Chenshu Semkine, Dine Jimba, the children server, Junduki, Yamden Jeva, Samjida, San Yokoba, Tupu Mare, Chisan Dera, Dombanila, Mipi, Shine Troop, Dine Shine Troopne, and the tea thing is in the Samden Troop. Ding on it, that Shine Ding on it, Dombanila, Mipi, Laudon Troop chair, and the Laudon Dombai to be shared up. That are the passion driven and the share of passion seven, Dombanila, Mipi, Shila, Sondriki, share up the tools in the top. Digombalatine, the Yamlen Chepalatine, San Yokoba to race, Chesan Dineza, Dinyamlen Chepe, Shila, Sondriki, Tingi, and Dombai, Lam Shila, Dombanila, Mipi, Shila, Sondriki, Lamdida, Sosukula, good Jobo. Jobo Jeda, Kiko, because a gazette Jobo Jetune, Dinyamlen Cherry, Joachi, the San Yokoban, Joa Jitu. San Yokoban Gazette near the San Jitune, Simjele Pemba, Joa Jashabu to Zada, Nudo, and Joa and Sanyi, Diniki, Lamdicule Kiawada, Lamaitam Yichin, Labroje, said the name body that to Sumore.
The motivation of the yogin here is that I must become a Buddha so that I can guide all sentient beings to attain a state freed of suffering. So they have this motivation of bodhicitta. In order to become a Buddha so that I can help others, I have to realize reality. I have to realize emptiness directly, because it's only then that my mind gains freedom from cyclic existence, and I will be able to guide others in dependence on my experience. But in order to realize emptiness directly, I have to develop the union of calm abiding and meditative insight. So therefore, one turns to one's Lama and Buddha and Yidam, requesting their inspiration. Please inspire me to do so. And the purpose of making this supplication is the more one is inspired to do something, the more one will try. And when one is inspired by one's teacher, one is inspired to not only try ever more, but to try in accordance with his guidance. And it's these two, making the great effort and doing so in the correct and unmistaken way, that leads to rapid progress and the quick attainment of such qualities as these within one's mind stream. So this again is the purpose of requesting inspiration, or the common translation of requesting blessings, is so that to the extent that one is inspired by one's teacher, one will strive in the meditations he's guiding you in, and one will strive in the manner in which one is guided. This is how one quickly attains results.
Ana jinji lobse di jin se di nuba se ko gore nuba jin se ne se jin se nuba se gore je jinji lobse di gyo dan wala gore je sa de lama da sangi gi nuba di ane ne di sem di gyo dan ro je sa ko gore ga re gyo dan ro se de ni ji su su nyamlen jin ma ryo ba da je de me ba da je ma shin ba yin sangi gi nubi gi 투기 구성도 뉴버디기 메셈데 냠len 제투에게 냠len 제도게 되니게 듬바지와 무티네 제투바 되니게 요다로시 세 고걸 진일 없세데 진세데 람메이담 여산이기 시신기 뉴바체 니기 진일 없세데 소수기 교 셈디 요다제 게비 냠len 제알이야 주토가 되는 교화당도나 대중이 진일 없어요 진일 없어요 제사 되니게 진일 없어야지 시지 교화당 와서 시진기 뉴비기 하는 아주 셈디 셈 개위 초소가 교토 교화되라 진일 없어야 돼 단다 디스모래.
This word then that I've translated inspire, but elsewhere will be translated as a blessing. So in any text, when you come across the word blessing, what it means is the following. So it has in Tibetan two particles, jin and lop, jingi lop. So jin, the first particle, can be translated as strength or power or capacity. And this refers to the beings to whom one is making the supplication. So the Buddhas, one's Lama, one's Yidam, that they have this perfected strength or power or capacity. So that's the first particle of the word, so it's jin, and it's in relation to those to whom one is making the supplication. They have this power or strength or capacity. Then the second particle, that of lop, so this is in relation to oneself, and it means to change. So the very meaning of Buddhist practice is changing one's mind, transforming one's mind. So this is the purpose of making the supplication, requesting blessings or requesting inspiration, so that we can, the second particle, lop, change our mind, transform our mind. And how do we do so? Through the beings to whom we're making the supplication. They have these qualities of their body, speech, and mind that has the strength, power, capacity. So through their physical behavior, their speech, and the qualities of their mind, all have strength, power, or capacity. And so by us reaching out to them for inspiration, we are accumulating virtue. We're accumulating virtue because of their qualities. And in this way, this accumulation of virtue in relation to the qualities of the beings to whom we are turning for inspiration, we accumulate merit and we transform or change our mind. So this is the meaning then of blessings or inspiration. We are turning to those who inspire you for your mind to be transformed through their good qualities. In other words, through being inspired by them, we'll strive to train in the way they are guiding us.
아주 겨울음 지로부지 제제 겨울음지게 결혼 안지게 되네게 냠는 되네 지내하고 결혼 진배에 두시네 삼다다 되네 제다 결혼 잠바다 니죠 검다스네 되네 검쇼스네 되네 소바인다 되네 겨울음지게 되기 마 송비기 다 되네게 소소게 대송와라 될라 되네 오다 다 겨울음 대송송에 냠는 지인 선배 소소게다 되네게 진배 냠는 제다 잠니지 두 검바인다 지산 소소게 삼문도 교화다 교화 친제 근데 뒤냠는 제일이야. 제예요. 봐도 유어친 바로와. 지자디 유어친 바도 수제 바로서는 여름 지게 까나지 유어 당성으로 와. 지자 진 저지 진기 시신이 뉴바디기 먼저 삼로도 유어 당제 되는 진배 냠는 제야당 잠니지 고미하게 삼로도 되지 디치용으로. 지자 디네자 진율로 진율로 바래. 지자 여름 지게 진랩 등한술 주바래. 진랩 라바래다. 진랩 등한술 셈도 유어 태바래. 유아 태바자다 진랍라바래 진짜 진율로바래 진율로바래 아베디나시 마즈이나다 디링안저게데 마즈게 되니게 최시 진연제제 마즈게 두시네 삼나다다 되네되네 제름지게 된 망아들이야 냠는 삼다나 두수 땅고에서 삼다나 마 송샤바디 땡아즈게 되니게 퇴제 아다디지 야고도 제고 선배 소소랑 강투도 제베이나 되네 제름지게 아주 연대 시요 베지디게 제름지게 아주 진일라 바래 아주 진랍샘도 주바래 지자다 진랍 최종 용거래 진랍 되어서 제도나 진랍 충충 딜레 망아진의 진랍 체해 되고 고소그 계획이 소소게 삼로 계획 자와디 누바 가제체 무투이다 누바 진야 양세체 누바 체로는 진랍 체해 주고로 되어서 제라나 무투이 제마도 와다 샘주시라 말레바나 누바 충어라 제거 지자디네자 만주게 두시네 난 계획 자와 제도기 뒷바기야다 어디 무투이 제하고도 샘배 삼다다 아주 계획 자와데 에디니 디 제름치기 안줄이야 송셰베 베지디게 진랍 등한줄로 주고 얼다 지나다 진랍 주 세야디 진율롭 세야디 되니 라브로체 주야 제고 슈바나 삼다와나지 되니게 마년제 소소에 삼로 주와다 어다디 지기 인세베 무직 제와 있나 다 진율롭 바래 진랍 주 바래
to make sure that this meaning of blessing or inspiration is clear, I can give some examples. So when one has the great fortune to receive teachings from His Holiness, especially when one is in His presence, perhaps amongst a large crowd, one feels His presence, one feels His power. So this is, in the word blessing, this is that, or inspiration, this first term, first particle, jin. So one feels His strength, His power, His capacity. And this then leads to your heart opening and your mind giving inspiration arising within. And this inspiration is a deep determination to strive to develop the same qualities that His Holiness has through training one's mind in the way that He's teaching. So if He's teaching on love and wisdom and compassion, one's heart is touched by these teachings. One is inspired by these teachings. This then is the receiving of His blessings. And what is that actual blessing that one has received? It's merit, it's virtue, it's good karma. In that, through one's heart being opened through His power and capacity, and then from our side, wanting to train, being inspired and wanting to train in the way that one is being guided, one is accumulating merit. This is the actual blessing. Likewise, through the teachings you're receiving on this text and the meditations you are doing on this text, if one's heart is being opened by these teachings and meditation, then one is receiving the blessings of Lama Tsongkhapa, or to use the literal word, so the jin, through the power or the strength or the capacity of Lama Tsongkhapa, one's heart is being opened to the Dharma, and one is wanting to train in the way that one is being guided. One is determined that these same meditations that you are doing here as a group, when I get home, I will do them again. Here one is accumulating merit through this determination, and the strength of the blessing one receives determines the durability of this inspiration, of this determination. So in this way, one receives blessings from great masters of the past, as well as the great masters alive in our world today. And the strength of inspiration generated will vary greatly depending on the person. The more one's heart opens to the power or capacity of the being, the greater the mind will transform. This is the second particle, the lob. The greater one's mind one's heart will open, one's mind will transform. And thereby, the greater the merit is accumulated, the greater the inspiration one receives. And therefore, the longer lasting the results are. So this then is the meaning of this term, inspiration or blessing.
ane dosho ne teba chimbi chue nyamne che na sa dorji tebi chue nyamne che se de teba chimbi chue nyamne che ta de la rinba ni yong go re si sa de ne za da ang zo ge dosho ne teba chimbi chue nyamne che ta de rinba ti shu sa wa le do da sa ma se de ro de ga ne song che bi teba chimbi chue nyamne che ta de ma shu sa wa le.
So with the completion of the ninth verse, we have now come to the completion of the first of the two parts of the Mahayana. The Mahayana has two parts, one being that of sutra and one being that of mantra. So we've now concluded looking at the Mahayana presentation, the Mahayana Sutra presentation.
당보 코로나야 당중에 당보 냠는 체대 가르스네 안에 기위신 제주 삼다데 제가 기위신 세대간의 최 냠는 등의 림바 등의 기위신 빼야고래 선배기 되는게 다 디템바네 기에침부 시월이 디마템바나 한쪽에 최 냠는 지대 신 말에 세배기다 기위신 디비 판연다 마템비기 균디 삼다지다 기 되는게 기위신의 냠는 제고고래 삼다제 기위신의 대바 지지도 제제 기위신이 된배 남들라 추신의 냠는 지인 선배 삼다다디 맞아 당보디 이제.
So to recap, the first topic, the foundation of all the good qualities we long to develop, is relying on our spiritual teacher. And this is of great importance because it is through relying on a spiritual teacher one receives both one's education, the gathering of knowledge, but not only that, one receives guidance in how to cultivate that knowledge within oneself, and one receives inspiration to do so. Inspiration to strive to cultivate that knowledge you're receiving, to integrate it within oneself. So this was the first point, relying on the spiritual teacher.
Niba samdade dang ju lüdin de be dan ju lüdin re sisa da dan ju lüdin den de ya an yamlen gar che na che tuye gi niba yedin den khabar chin re den de be ya ore sambe ge samda jine gi jesa dini gi den de ya diring e an yamlen chige yamlen chigin sambe ge da odusha samdade bene gewa chimang song le ta ji ondio ko ma toye ge tablam da dan ju lüdin di de le yamlen chigin sambe samda de ga ge 아제레 다지 유리딘의 계침부터 된델이야 냠네 가르치나 제 투에 된 개발 빼야 오래 지산 디 된델이양의 계위 냠네 분소 받으면 역사 야보슈 지인습에 섬다야디 니버들이양자.
And the second training is also one of great importance. This is where we come to recognize the great value of this very rare, precious human rebirth. And this is such an important meditation because when it arises, when one gains a deep understanding of this topic, one will no longer take this life for granted. One no longer will see this life as ordinary or commonplace. This is important, otherwise we waste this life. We waste this opportunity. And moreover, what will also come about when one gains understanding of this topic is one will see that the development of all these remarkable qualities of the Dharma, they are not beyond us. We have the capacity for this. We are not small and ordinary people. We have great capacity lying within. None of these powerful realizations are beyond us. All of these, by striving, we can cultivate.
다 숨바들라 다 냠는데 다들 맞아 보이는데 다 게디싱 해봐 요마다 시세사의 시위 견바도 매봐 게디싱 해봐 매 제장에 냠는 제도 다들 지긴 세배서 다 마모 제마 지금 마상마장에 다들 제도가 지긴 냠는 지긴 세배 삼다야 되다.
And the third point is that of recognizing the impermanence of this opportunity, that this life itself will end, and when it ends is completely unknown. Therefore, I have to make the most of what remains of this life. And in fact, every period within this life also ends. Each teaching session, each meditation session ends. I need to make the most of what I have while I still have it. So this way of thinking helps to counter procrastination and delay.
다 원료 고방 토와디 개위시 수탄 개발했네 토고래 나선께는 미개발했네 기어리 지상 원료 고방 토야 개발이 가려나 지자다 류의 순위주 되면 수rim래 이 류의 순위주 지안에 봐 지금 매sembe 삼다야 되네 되니 수수기 진배님네 야산리야 진배님네지야 되네 근데 쇠배님네지야 준주님네지야 되네 안에 지금 몰람지야디 가산이 그생에 참 가시 서바도 뭐 어디게 다디 지긴 있습니다. 다디니 지긴 있습니다. 다 제해디 디레다 가서 제해디.
So having recognized the great potential that comes with this rebirth and the need to engage in fulfilling its potential from right now, then the question is answered. So now how do I live a meaningful life? How do I live a life of purpose, a life that truly matters? So firstly, one looks at all the capacity that this life brings. Let me put it to good use, and I need to continue this process for lifetimes to come. So I have to ensure that in my very next rebirth, I do not fall into the lower realms. I have to create the causes for an ongoing stream of excellent rebirths. Therefore, I have to train in those 5 causes: ethical restraint, generosity, patience, enthusiastic perseverance, and prayer. These causes will ensure that these causes well developed will ensure that good rebirths follow.
다디 냥저 기부 총호다 튜멸람 일인 바스데 당한테 당보 장도를 쳐야래야 또 도시아 장도 쳐야지 송거래.
So that is the trainings which are shared with or common with a practitioner of initial capacity, and that is our starting point.
다디 이야기 저기 쳐라 다다 가르섬다 이베다 가르섬었는데 기부 중다 투모 섬일 남일 마찬 될라다 다 코와데 냐와 이다 준럴 하다미 간데 섬다미나 강아 라시레 동아 레샤스 동아 델레 마탄 탑민데 동아 델레 탈베 탈바 토구도 셈비게 다 누르시네 코위 쩐다지 델레 탈베 탈바 토구도 셈비게 삼라시다 데네 탈바 토에게 된다라다 냠는 제딩이 진바도 수준 세바 준주 아니 딩에제 다음에 봐도 시라티기 냠는 지기 섬제 디다 만주게 강투두기 소수이다 진치 주름소야 세바 진배 냠래시아 세배 냠래시아 준례 냠래시아 되게 차도요.
Then one develops one's motivation further, recognizing that actually there is no happiness to be found anywhere in cyclic existence. There's no rebirth or special thing one can buy or lifestyle one can live where one is abiding in lasting happiness. It just does not exist anywhere for any being who is still bound in samsara. And thinking deeply on this gives rise to determination to gain freedom from cyclic existence, to attain the happiness, a lasting, stable happiness of liberation. And to do so, one has to cultivate the causes. So these causes now are built on what one has been training in already. So it's the first same 4 practices of generosity, ethics, patience, and joyous perseverance. And then in addition, concentration and wisdom. Here then one commits to strive as much as one can.
아니네 나 대화 침비기 최 정시 선비기 냠는 쳐야 될래야 다 가르송으로 당보다 지산 다 섬다야디 다 심전 탐제 라나신 대화 되바 지바를 동아미 되바 지바를 제자 심전 탐제 대화 내내 김제 대화 되바 지바를 심전 탐제 동아미 되바 지바를 삼배 삼다제 대신에 아주 거기 괜히 냐만 삼사로 되네자다 두선의 지바를 대자다 심전 탐제 대화대 되나 삼배게 다두 잠제 잠바디콤 되네 심전 탐제 동아다 자와쇼 삼배 삼로디 닝지디콤 Dene Simjan Devada Dembade Nge Chigi Simjan Dunga Jawaja Ngechi Nge Simjan Tangela Pendi Drupja Simjan Kowe Dunga Treasure Sanges La Kugi Sembigeda Kuru Kevige that Hasananda said Samda. Dene that in Zang Simjan Tamja Sanjoko Bala Ngala that Nuba Mindu days and the Sanjoko Tobudu Tapcho to Cuba Sanjoko Barisha days and Simjan Tamji Sanjoko Tobarsho Sembige that Denege Janju Semge. 다 되네게 셈게네 당에 상조고보 토비 치르도 다 짐바다 짐베 냠내지 쇠바 다 류가 있으면 제절라 당긴 셈베게 스마 고미야 다 류가 있으면 그네 샤란녀바 싸우기는 지금에 셈베 삼다야 되네 안지기 현기 녀바다 가르체벤 팔레 뇌렌들 뇌비 렌지 코르자 싸워된 지금에 셈베 쇠바 고미야 되네게 개회 냠내 셴레 판도 쳐야 빼마서 야보르게 무티는 냠내 지긴 셈베게 전주 고미야 다지성 안쪽에 도시해야 돼. 내가 하바 되네. 대신 주반에 담에 봐도비. 띵에 신의 주비하다. 되네 신의 띵 안에 담에 봐도비게 동원이 동반이를 미비게 하동 쭉 되네 고미야 되게 어두시네. 공부할 때네 산이고 토고 그래서 제자당은 저게 냠내지야 돼. 태바치며 주 되어감내 시비 태바치며 주 냠내지 되게 디리에서 당은 저 되네기 기부 숨기 남기 림비게다 오토모와다 남기린 바나 증다 투모는 챔비게 남냠네 림바디마 도스네 슈사베 계시다되는
So that then was the trainings shared with a practitioner of intermediate capacity. Then the trainings unique to a practitioner of greatest capacity. So here then one, having trained well and given rise to this determination to gain freedom from cyclic existence through recognizing the sufferings of cyclic existence, one lifts one's gaze from one's own predicament and looks at others, recognizing we are all in the same boat. None of us want to suffer. We all want to abide in lasting happiness. Whilst I can observe many superficial differences between myself and others, at a fundamental level, we are all the same. In the same way I want to abide in happiness, may others do so as well. May we all abide in happiness. In the same way as I don't want to suffer, nor do others, may we all gain our freedom from suffering. And in this way we develop love. May all beings abide in happiness. And again here, all beings, oneself and all others, may we abide in happiness. May we all gain our freedom from suffering, and thereby we develop compassion. And we develop these two to the strength where it's a strong and powerful dominant force within us, that when we move through society, we feel a sense of deep and tender connection with everyone, wanting them to be happy and gain freedom from suffering. But as we cultivate these minds ever further, this mere aspiration starts to feel insufficient. I have to do something about this. It's not enough that to merely want others to gain freedom from suffering and abide in lasting happiness. I have to guide them. I have to show them how it's possible. I'm experiencing change within me. I see how the Dharma is alive within me, how it's working. I want to guide others to attain the same state. And yet one develops a wholehearted resolve. But to do so, I have to spiritually develop further. I am not yet free of suffering myself. I don't really know how to guide others because I'm still a trainee myself. I have to develop further. And also when I think of the wide variety of beings throughout the realms and their own karmic backgrounds, I don't know how to relate to others perfectly in accordance with their own unique personalities and disposition. I have to become a Buddha, the perfect guide. And here one generates bodhicitta, the determination to become a Buddha so that one can guide all beings to attain a state freed of suffering. Having generated bodhicitta, this determination to become a Buddha, then one strives in those practices that lead, which are the accumulation of the causes that will lead to the eventual attainment of Buddhahood. So these are the same 6 practices that were mentioned before, but now that one has generated bodhicitta, those practices are motivated by bodhicitta. One's generosity is motivated by bodhicitta. So therefore, one is committed to helping any and every being in any way possible. Likewise, with ethics, now motivated by bodhicitta, the determination is abundantly clear. I will not harm these beings. I have love for them. I have compassion for them. How could I possibly harm them? And likewise, one's patience is now motivated by bodhicitta. How could I possibly respond in any adverse way or even allow an affliction to arise within me, no matter how others treat me, whether it's with harm or with ingratitude or indifference? I will only hold them dear. I will never respond in any inappropriate manner. And in this way, one's patience is empowered by bodhicitta. And so too is one's enthusiastic perseverance, single-pointed concentration, and wisdom. And here then one will strive to cultivate the union of calm abiding and meditative insight, recognizing that it's only when the mind is that powerful that one's meditation on emptiness will actually be able to cut the very root of our suffering, the afflictions, and thereby we gain liberation. And thereby our mind is freed from the afflictions, and our love is far more developed, our compassion far more developed, and we can help others. So in this way, it should be clear how the trainings build one on top of the other, and thereby one trained in this specific sequence. As one's motivation is generally growing and developing, one's trainings become ever more powerful. So in this way, we see the links between the various practices. And that then shows that we've concluded looking at the trainings that are shared with the practitioner of initial capacity, of intermediate capacity, and the trainings that are unique to practitioners of greatest capacity. So then thank you. We can conclude there for this morning. But if there are questions, then please feel free to ask. Venerable Sepal?
Just that last few sentences. What I heard you say was that bodhicitta makes the realization of emptiness powerful enough to remove the afflictions and attain liberation. Isn't it powerful enough to remove the stains and attain Buddhahood?
It's also so I'll repeat it because then maybe I said it wrong. So, bodhicitta, when it's conjoining with the affliction, with the various practices, makes them so much more powerful. But in terms of the wisdom realizing emptiness, when it's the mind that is the union of calm abiding meditative insight, when that is empowering the wisdom realizing emptiness, the wisdom that realizes emptiness, then it's that mind that is strong enough to cut the afflictions together with their seeds and gain liberation from the afflictions. But what you said was correct. I didn't say it, but that wisdom, when it's conjoined also with the union calm abiding and meditative insight, is conjoined with bodhicitta, then it can also remove the stains and Buddhahood will be achieved. Okay. Then thank you. Thank you.